Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dive into a pretty startling claim coming from the channel 5EKTESAD. The story they're telling is that a secret conflict, brewing over one of the world's most vital waterways, has just burst into the open. We're talking about shadow alliances, major power plays, and literally redrawing the map in the Horn of Africa.
So the analysis we're digging into kicks off with this really powerful statement. It kind of sets the stage, right? The idea is that a hidden struggle has suddenly become very, very public, and it threatens to change the entire region. So what exactly was the secret, and why is it all coming out now?
All right, to get our heads around the full picture the source is painting, we're going to walk through the story in 5 main parts. We'll start with the 2 events that they claim lit the fuse on this whole crisis.
So where does this all begin? Well, it kicks off with 2 sudden developments centered on Somalia that, according to the source, sent some serious shockwaves through the region.
The source claims 2 big things happened at almost the same time. First, starting around October 2024, these unmarked Egyptian military cargo ships started showing up every week in Mogadishu. Then, and this is huge, Israel makes this dramatic diplomatic move, officially recognizing the self-declared Republic of Somaliland.
Now, to really get why this is such a big deal, you have to understand Somaliland's unique situation. For over 30 years, it's basically been running itself as an independent country. It has its own government, its own institutions, the whole shebang. But here's the catch. Almost no other country in the world officially recognizes it. And that's what makes Israel's alleged move just so explosive.
So the big question is, why now? According to this analysis, these events are anything but random. They're allegedly part of a coordinated strategy called Plan B, a specific move by an alliance of nations that's designed to corner Egypt and weaken its influence.
Okay, so the source lays out 2 clear sides on this new chessboard. On one side, you have the so-called Plan B alliance, that's Israel, Ethiopia, and the UAE, and on the other side, you've got the counter-alliance that Egypt has supposedly been building with big players like Turkey and China.
And according to this source, each player has a very clear reason for being in the game. Israel is allegedly after a strategic foothold on a key global shipping lane. Ethiopia, which is landlocked, is absolutely desperate for sea access for its 120 million people. And the UAE, they're reportedly trying to push back against their regional rivals. This analysis claims this was way more than just a diplomatic nod. It was a transaction. Somaliland allegedly had to agree to 4 massive conditions, each one a geopolitical earthquake in its own right, all in exchange for that official recognition. But here's the twist. The source argues Egypt wasn't caught off guard at all. They allege that Cairo has been quietly playing its own long game, a multi-year counter-strategy, moving its own pieces on the board without making a big show of it. The Egyptian approach is described as really methodical and long-term. It's not about big, loud confrontations. It's all about building alliances, controlling key geography by securing ports, and quietly putting military assets in place, like those ships we just heard about arriving in Mogadishu. And geography is absolutely everything here. The source claims that by locking down ports in neighboring Eritrea and Djibouti, Egypt has put Ethiopia in a really tough spot. I mean, think about it. Ethiopia depends on those ports for nearly all of its international trade. That gives Egypt a ton of leverage. So this is where this story really zooms out. The argument is that recognizing Somaliland isn't just about Somalia. It's about creating a dangerous precedent, a kind of template that they claim could be used to redraw the entire map of the Middle East. So the core argument here is that Israel is allegedly putting a new kind of deal on the table for separatist movements all over the region. The pitch is something like, hey, you work with us, you give us a strategic foothold, and in return, we'll use our global influence to get you the one thing you crave, international recognition. And this is the slippery slope that the source is warning about. They claim that if this Somaliland model actually works, it could kick off a chain reaction. Next up could be the formal division of Yemen, and then, who knows, maybe the fragmentation of Syria into smaller states. When you put all the pieces together, this whole conflict is framed as something much bigger than just one breakaway region. It's a struggle for who controls the future of trade, security, and borders in one of the most vital spots on the planet. And yeah, this is far from just a local issue. You've got major global powers who are deeply invested. The source claims China and Turkey are siding with Egypt, while the UAE is on the other team.
And in the middle of it all, Cairo is supposedly making calls to the US, trying to get them to step in and de-escalate.
This slide really just lays out how massive the stakes are. What happens here could affect global shipping through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, the security of the Suez Canal, the future of China's Giant Belt and Road Initiative, and maybe the biggest question of all, the very idea of national sovereignty itself.
The analysis wraps up with this quote from Napoleon, and it really hits the nail on the head of their central theme. In geopolitics, geography is destiny. If you control the ports, the straits, and the coastlines, you're the one who holds the power.
And that just leaves us with a final thought to chew on. In this new era of geopolitics, as nations compete not just with armies, but by creating new borders, new trade routes, and new spheres of influence, maybe the most powerful weapon of all is simply the power to draw the map.